wanted to make a video that is going to be crucially important. Now, we were doing the Heimlich remover a couple of days ago, and I know that there probably had to been cameras at this, what I thought was Ken Cooper's and Sarah Cooper's house. And it wasn't. It was a stage house. It's a fake house. And I didn't know that at the time. And there had to have been cameras there. Because I think that there was cameras because they knew there was a lot of bad shit that the Cooper family were doing. Vengefully to Frankie, me, and Julian. And I don't think they really gave a shit about my life, the people who was overseeing these. I think it was morally probably because of my mother, of the death of the little girl and all this other shit, and their fault, and then want to get blamed. I mean, when I talk about blood-sucking parasites, it is gruesome and it's fucking barbaric, far greater than what words you think I ever said was evil, because your actions take much more powerful meaning when you move forward to those horrors of how they were speaking. And Frankie was there with me, speaking with Frankie, and I want to say Julian was as well, but Frankie was. And he discards this dead little girl in front of my face, and I you got to understand, I have no reason on any earth to ever despise this person. And remember, detective police officer bullshit, and he tries to justify just in case Frankie got raped a bunch of times. And he says, he goes, I saved about 15 people with the Heimlich remover. And he goes, I saved about 15 people with the Heimlich remover. Yeah, I've been in the detective force for a long time, and I was stepping over dead bodies. And he would shrug his face like that to me. And I remember looking at him like, I wonder what he means. And I had you got to understand, there's no reason for me to think anything of it, but I didn't understand why he would talk that way and then point his eyes over at me at both times. He literally says this in front of Frankie. And I remember looking at Frankie, and he got kind of startled, because remember, he did go through that. And he shrugs, like he's looking at Frankie, and he goes, I saved about 10 people, and he goes like this. But he was kind of looking forward, so he tries to turn Frankie against me. I have no idea this is actually happening, but this actually did happen. I'm like, this is what this person's doing. And he literally tells me, and he says, I was in the police force, and I was stepping over dead bodies. Because my sister was always laying on the floor, and I was just stepping over dead bodies. But hold on. He's Ken Cooper. No, he just went crazy, didn't he? Is that what happened? Now, there's no sophistication, technical, really wording that we share when we're all talking. Everything seems legitimate. Sarah seems to be running in circles like, it's like, we're going to get caught, we're going to steal something. Like, it was very fucking suspicious. And at this, I have no reason to ever believe they're involved with my mother, because my mother hated them. They were really nasty to my mother. My mother never said anything. It was my whole life. And I saw her call my mother a bitch, and it was a nasty war when they showed up and said, no, I'm in control. And I mean, it was like, literally, she came in threatening my mother. And like, it was no joke. I talked about this, on these other videos. But what I want to say is, I don't think I've ever shared that. Frankie can verify that. And he literally says, I was stepping over, like he's blaming me. Like he needs to find somebody to blame because of what had happened. And because of what Sarah. And because this is really about the Cooper family. This is all about Ken. Because he's on the radio station doing a favor for the blacks. And you have Madison, white supremacy. Oh, but it's just Mexican when you want to claim it, right? And this is what happens. And he literally says it. And I remember thinking when I was looking, I was like, why is he shrugging like he's blaming me for something? And I was like, it must mean something else. Because there's no reason for this to happen. And then I talked about this. Frankie and Julian were there when this happened. she begins to talk about Michaela like that's her daddy. Ken Cooper was the one protecting her. And he goes, yeah. He goes, there's a little girl. And this is when he starts talking about my dead sister. This is my biological father's daughter that just got dumped. And he's the way that he's expressing it is that he's in full control and ownership, and he's just plunging everything to the shit hole. And he starts to talk about Michaela. He goes, yeah, he had another daughter. He goes, yeah, she's real pretty. Yeah. He goes, yeah, she's real pretty, huh? And he says this shit and I have no earthly idea who he's talking about, what's going on. You gotta understand, like, it's sort of very confusing because I don't really. It's like sometimes when people come over to me and they'll try to say something, and sometimes it's like it doesn't make sense to me because they think I'm on the same page as them, and I don't know what they're like. I don't relate, or I haven't been told that information yet. I don't know what. And it was the same thing when I'm going to job sites and people are telling me shit about my mother, dead little girl, twins, and all kinds of shit. And this is what happens. So I thought I'd make a video on that. So hopefully that'll inform you a little bit. There's another thing I also want to talk about. I'll have to make another video.